Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Board, and it's mailbag time. We go live every single Tuesday, usually at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. But when there's breaking news, we will go live earlier. So if you're missing your questions, it's because you're not joining our live show. So that's another reason to turn on those noties. We got Steel Cage Savage, pathetic, I want Hooker in the draft. So Steel Cage did not like the move of the Raiders bringing in Brian Hoyer, which I flat out said, I don't think it's a bad move at all. To me, the Raiders, by bringing in Hoyer, are 100% now going to be signing or drafting a young quarterback. Maybe that is Hooker. If they do take Hooker, though, I think it would end up being at pick number 38. John Borelli says, mess signing, still going to New England Raiders. And yes, where's the D? There's a lot of Raider fans wondering, hey, is the silver and black going to address the defense? I believe that they are going to use most of their draft picks on taking most of those guys that can play the defensive side to pair with Patrick Graham and build a conform unit. I got Isaiah McDaniel next up here on the Raiders Report. Odds of trading up to the number 3 after doing this. Cards looking to get off D-Hop contract. Any chance he's part of it? Could we even afford him? So if you actually look at the DeAndre Hopkins contract, the Raiders would be on the hook for about $19.5 million in 2023 and then $14.5 million in 2024. Now, this is a trade idea that we talked about during our live show with Brian Hoyer, and I think this is probably what it would end up costing from my personal projection if the Raiders wanted to move up to number 3 and if they wanted to get DeAndre Hopkins. The reason why this trade is what it is because there are reports out right now that the Cardinals might have to cut him. And as soon as those reports come out that they might have to cut him, obviously teams aren't going to offer as much. So the way that I want y'all to look at this is by trading up from 7 to go all the way up to number 3 and take a quarterback, you're going to give up your first and your third and a first-round pick in next year's draft. That's what it costs. Like, I don't think that you're going to be able to get it for anything cheaper than that. It's going to cost you 2 first-round picks, and you're going to throw in a third. On top of that, though, a 2023 fifth for DeAndre Hopkins. If Arizona looks at this as a cap cut, then it's less value. If Brandon Cooks goes for a 5th and a 6th, but in 2024, that's basically, I would say, what a 2023 5th rounder would end up equating to. So let's just hypothetically say this is the trade that ends up going down. I want you to go down in the comments section right now and let me know who wins this trade idea. Type LV for the Raiders, or if you think it is the Arizona Cardinals, I want you to type ARI. Let's go to Arbor. Mitch, thoughts on Mac Jones rumor today. Would have been better acquisition than Jimmy G and Hoyer. So there is a report from Mike Florio. Any report that comes out from Mike Florio, take that with a grain of salt, almost just like you would see if any beat reporter from the Raiders tweets anything, same thing. Take it with a grain of salt. Florio doesn't have any real sources, neither does any Raiders beat reporter. I don't think that trading, though, for Mac Jones is the right thing because when you look at what the Raiders organization is doing, they're trying to stockpile draft picks. You can say what you want about Hoyer, you can say what you want about Garoppolo. Both of those guys know the McDaniels system, and you didn't have to give up any draft picks to do it. If you have to give up draft picks for Mac Jones, that's where it comes into play. Though, with some NFL, I guess I should say, there was some rumor that some Patriots players like Bailey Zappi more than Mac Jones. You combine that now with these extra trade rumors. I mean, if you're able to get Mac Jones for a 5th-round pick, changes it, I just would be kind of surprised that that's all New England would be willing to get or could get for Jones. Let's go to Salamanca Drew. The Raiders have hired former NFL wide receiver Danny Amendola as a return specialist coach. That is correct. If you're watching this live, we talked about that maybe about 30 minutes ago. If you're watching this when the mailbag goes out, I actually like this move for the Raiders. It's laughable in the sense of it's just yet another former Patriot, right? And he's played with the Miami Dolphins. He's played with the Houston Texans. He's been with the New England Patriots. Obviously, he's played on the Rams. So you're looking at multiple trees there that have some sort of connection with the Patriot way. He is going to be the assistant to the receivers, and he's going to be assistant as well for a return specialist. He's a tough player. He's battled through a lot of injuries, knows the system well. I think it's a good hire. It's yet again another Patriot. Let's go to Real Raider Fan 08. Anthony Richardson is visiting with the Raiders on Friday. Do you think the Raiders draft him? To me, if the Raiders draft Anthony Richardson, I hope it's at number 7 if that's where they draft him. I don't like the idea of you trading up for Richardson, and I don't like the idea of you trading up to take Will Levis either at number 3. If the draft falls C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young at 1 and 2, that's when I would get a little bit nervous. Raiders right now have the highest odds to take Richardson. They're bringing him in on a visit. Sounds like everything that they've done with him, they've liked so far. They took him out for dinner before his pro day. Richardson's very first visit is with the Raiders. I mean, he is an incredible athlete, but his ability to throw the football should scare the absolute hell out of you. And on top of that, I don't think he would fit the Josh McDaniels system all that well. If McDaniels changes it around him, great. I just don't know if that's ultimately what happens. Now, here's the one thing. Some of y'all are watching this live, and I don't want you to be the guy that misses our live shows. So don't be that guy. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. So anytime the Raiders make a move, you're educated about it. You're one of the first people to know. I mean, you saw the Super Chat come in. We talked about the Danny Amendola hire 30 minutes before. Turn on those noties. Let's go to Logan M. Thoughts on the Raiders bringing in Zay Flowers for a top 30 visit? It's another offensive player, which is probably the reason why you're asking this question. Zay Flowers is a phenomenal receiver. In fact, he's one of my favorite receivers in this year's draft, and I think he would fit really well in what McDaniels is trying to do. But then again, to me, if you were to ask me what position are the Raiders absolutely good in, it's at the wide receiver room. If you want Zay Flowers, you're going to have to take him with your top 2 picks. Like, he's not falling down to 70. I can promise you that. So if you want him, I would never take him at number 7. If he's there at number 38, to me, there are other positions I would obviously love the Raiders to take. I just think that they're trying to do their homework, but the fact that they are doing homework on wide receivers still makes me interested to see what other moves the Silver and Black might do at the wide receiver position. I will say if they drafted Zay Flowers at 38, I know I've said it before, but then definitely Hunter Renfrow is gone after June 1st. Let's go to B-Rabe. Draft question. If they trade back, how far back is the cutoff? I think it just comes down to what the NFL team is offering. B-Rabe, over the weekend, I put out a video, 5 blockbuster trades that the Raiders could do during the draft. There's 3 trades in there that are trade back scenarios with teams, and I try to illustrate how much I believe it could cost and why each team would end up doing what they do. If I'm the Raiders, though, and if a team, let's say you're the Baltimore Ravens, you're at pick, I don't know, wherever they're at, 22. They lose Lamar Jackson. All the rumors around the Ravens or the Raiders wanting Anthony Richardson. If the Raiders were able to get their pick at 22, plus you're able to get, I don't know, a first-round pick in 2024, a first-round pick in 2025, and you jump back all the way to 22, I'm fine with it. Because to me, I don't know if the Raiders are actually trying to win this upcoming season. They can tell you what they want. I'm just going to simply disagree with it. Let's go to Manuel. Does this signing mean we draft a developing quarterback? Yes, he's talking about Brian Hoyer. I can confidently say that with the Raiders signing Brian Hoyer, I am 100% confident that the Silver and Black will draft a QB. I'm not saying it's going to be in round 1, round 2. I'm not saying it's going to be day 2 or day 3. But to me, Jimmy Garoppolo's your starter. You brought in Brian Hoyer to be your QB3, to be that player coach. And he's going to teach that QB that you draft. That way, when it's time for Jimmy Garoppolo to move on, see you later. Now you have that new QB who's been learning the system next to Brian Hoyer. Let's go to Gregory Tomlin here on the Raiders Report. Do you think the Raiders will draft Jalen Carter? Honest to God, no. I don't think that they're going to do it. Ziegler had some interesting things to say, I believe over the weekend or 2 weeks ago, where he was simply like, we want to draft players that we are confident that are going to be successful on and off the field. Now, I already have said before that I don't really believe anything Ziegler and McDaniels say, but basing it off of that quote and that quote alone, you can't be even kind of confident that Jalen Carter is going to do the right things off the field, especially in Las Vegas. Won't believe it. So here's my question to the nation out there. Will the Raiders draft Jalen Carter? Give me a yes, give me a no. His agent is literally telling teams outside of the top 10, not going to meet with you, because he's that confident that Carter is going to go in the top 10. Personally, I think that is a terrible thing for his agent to do, who I believe is Greg Rosenhall. Or what is it? Doesn't matter. His agent is one of the better-known agents out there. I think it's a dumb move. think they're being cocky. And if he does fall out of the top 10, they're going to look really dumb. For me, will the Raiders draft Jalen Carter? My answer to that is going to be a no. Let's go to JMO H, a.k.a. Devil J. Anyway, getting rid of McClown, Ziegler, etc., and also anyway we trade up for Will Anderson and get a first-round pick for next year. P.S., how much will it cost? To me, McDaniels and Ziegler, they're going to be the Raiders' GM head coach for 2023 and 2024 unless the Raiders win, like, less than 3 games this year. I mean, if the Raiders are just that much of a disgrace, then sure, like, there might be a scenario. But in terms of trading up for Will Anderson, no, 0% chance. The only player the Raiders will trade up for is going to be a quarterback if they do, and get a first-round pick for next year. I mean, if you trade up, you're giving up more than likely a first-round pick. So you're giving up more than likely a first-round pick in next year's draft. Let's go to Vincenzo. What you like about J.R. Brown out of Penn State? Should the Raiders go for him? I like him because he's a good all-around safety. And one of the problems with the safety group this year is there is the top guy, Brian Branch from Alabama, going to be a first-round pick. After that, I can poke holes in a lot of the other safeties. I love the kid out of Boise State, J.L. Skinner. Unfortunately, though, he tore his pec muscle. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the regular season. So then you start falling down the board in terms of value, and I do think safety is going to be one of those positions, just like you've seen in free agency, where there are still good safeties out there, but they fall down because NFL teams don't necessarily value the safety position nearly as much as, let's say, a cornerback or an edge rusher or a defensive tackle. So if you're able to get a Jair Brown and, I don't know, the 4th round, the back of the 3rd, I think that's good value to me. And he's a good all-around player. And sometimes you just need good all-around players. In worst case, he's a special teams guy. But to me, he'd be a good backup to somebody like Marcus Epps. Now, remember, if you guys haven't already, you can always interact with me on social media, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, hell, even on Locals. I am at Mitchell Renz 365, literally everywhere. So if you want me to interact with you on Cameo, I did just make one of those, a birthday wish, a shout-out to somebody, cool little gift idea there, and then stay up to date on the news and rumors, Twitter, IG, you guessed it, it's down there below. Let's go to Aaron. What up, Aaron? He's over on Locals. Draft Hooker in the 2nd round instead of Levis or AR in the 1st. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I agree with this take. Like, I am not sold on Richardson or Will Levis. To me, I would much rather the Raiders take a quarterback in next year's draft. However, I don't know if that's going to be their plan. Like, if I were to come out of a draft here, right, and let's just say you got Will Levis or Anthony Richardson in round 1, and then I don't know who you're going to get. Let's say you get a Jack Campbell or Drew Sanders at 38, or maybe you get a Eli Ricks, or I don't know who it's going to be, another cornerback in 38. However, if you start your draft off with a Chris Gonzalez or a Devin Witherspoon, and then you also get a Hendon Hooker in round 2, I like that pairing personally a lot more because I think Hendon Hooker is more pro-ready than both Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. His upside's not nearly as high, but if you were to ask me which quarterback would I have more confidence in, it would be Hendon Hooker in year 1. But that's just me. Let's go to Jose. Thoughts on bringing back Yannick Ngakoue on a 1-year deal? It's never going to happen. Yannick Ngakoue coming back to the Raiders, it won't happen. The segment that I was thinking about making was going to be around Ngakoue, so if you're watching this live, that's what we might talk about. If you're not watching this live, go check out my Yannick Ngakoue segment. Let's go to Fayaz. What's up, my brother? Winner of our March Madness tournament over on Locals. Would you trade the number 7 for a 1st and 2nd round pick next year? Ammo for Caleb Williams. Would I do it if it meant getting Caleb Williams? Yes. Would I do that if it meant getting Drake May? Yes. Like, to me, my biggest hope this season was that the Raiders were going to try to win football games. There's nothing that's really convinced me that they're realistically trying to win for this season. They might be trying to build their roster the best way they know possible and hopefully setting themselves up for more success in 2024. But if you told me right now, if an NFL team was like, hey, I'll give you a 1st-round pick and a 2nd-round pick, or if there's a team that has 2 1st-round picks in next year's draft to get number 7, I would do it because I want the Raiders to have a chance at Caleb Williams because even though you got Jimmy Garoppolo, your defense still is one of the worst defenses in the NFL as it stands right now. Yes, Garoppolo has actually done a lot better. Once I've looked at the numbers, I want to say it's like 20-3 or something like that when his team scores less than 20 points, or when the defense gives up more than 20 points, or something like that. I don't know. It's some stat like that where Garoppolo plays a lot better compared to Derek Carr is the stat I saw, where Carr was like 28-17. But if you're telling me I can get Drake May or Caleb Williams, my short answer should have been yes, I would do it. Now, if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching this live, shout out to y'all. If you want to get this thing wild, we always can. If not, it's all good. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day. For all you that tuned into this mailbag, and always remember, anytime breaking news happens, we cover it here live on the Raiders Report.